District 6?
Yep.
I was gonna say, and that's my district as well, and I'm thinking, why am I thinking? Anyway, we're a grassroots organization, sometimes we forget things. We'll go ahead and start with Brenda, and we'll just go around with the questions.
What is the function of federal government?
The federal government is the political compact that was formed by the states to deal with issues that divided the states and to which the states could not handle themselves. That is the limited purpose of the federal government.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
And I'm Dorothy Geis. Why do you want to be elected to the position of federal legislator, and what are your primary goals?
Well, my primary goal is to help change the world, but that's kind of a general aspect, of course. I believe I'm the best candidate for the job. It is a job that I see as very important in today's historical times, because we have a government that has gotten far beyond its constitutional role, and it is causing all kinds of unhappiness in our personal lives, and it is also leading us into a potential tyranny type situation. And so it's very important that I and people like me have an opportunity to fight.
My name is Joyce Feast. What are the most critical issues facing the country today, and how will you contribute to the solutions?
The most critical problem is the corruption of our Constitution, of ourselves, which comes from the corruption of the Constitution, and the fact that those who have corrupted the Constitution have taken the concept of a living Constitution and a very large loophole that they claim exists in the Constitution that allows them to grab power over every portion of our lives. And that particular loophole is the Interstate Commerce Clause, which has been written so large by Supreme Court decisions interpreting that clause that it has essentially swallowed the limited features of the Constitution. And so therefore we have a mob rule mentality right now, which is completely at odds with what was intended by our Constitution, which was to deal with that type of problem, where only the strong get their way, or only the mob gets their way. The Constitution in our country was designed to protect individual liberty, i.e. self-determination. And that is really what we are focusing on. We are at war, a war between the individual's right for self-determination and those who control the government's intention to grab as much power, wealth, and influence as they can. So therefore, you know, to me, that's the issue.
I'm Bill Gilmore.
Hi, Bill.
How should the country solve its budgetary issues, and what specific programs would you cut?
Well, you have to spend less money, period. You know, if somebody comes in and sees a order about a bankruptcy, that's basically what he's told, or the person the bankrupt's told. You know, look, we've got debts we have to deal with. They'll either be discharged in bankruptcy, i.e. defaulted upon, but from now on, you got to change your ways. This country has to change its ways. I think that, again, going back to my constitutional issues that I raised earlier, I mean, let's start with some of those programs that, to me, don't belong in Washington, D.C., such as the Department of Education. I think that that would be the obvious one. I think the Department of Energy is one.
I can't talk right now.
I think that we should seriously reconsider the amount of money that we spend overseas on foreign wars, military commitments, and aid to other countries in an attempt to buy influence. I think that the so-called stimulus programs need to cease. I think the transfer of money from the federal government to the states so the states can fill their budget gaps needs to stop. We need to live within our budget, first and foremost. Otherwise, we're just bankrupt. And bankrupt individuals are hurting individuals. And a bankrupt country is that same feeling, only 330 million times larger. So we're just going to have to, you know what, to some extent we're all responsible for this problem, and we all need to fix it. And so therefore, to demonize, you know, one group or one particular group isn't necessarily appropriate, but you know, those are some examples that I've just given that I think need to be looked at very seriously. Again, we have to get back to the constitutional role of the federal government. If we do that, the budget will balance.
It sounds like to me the state of Washington and the other states that took federal money established a bad precedent, because now that one-time chunk they have to learn how to do without, because it's not going to be an every 2 years gift.
Don't be so sure.
They've got to work out the long-range problem. That was a temporary gift as the favor of the taxpayers to help all the states solve their problems, which they shouldn't have been in that position to begin with, if they planned properly. But also from the standpoint of what's going to happen, not only are the states going broke, but I predict, and I don't know how you feel, that when the government takes over like General Motors and it becomes government motors, will it be like Amtrak when they start losing, and they are, and they lose more and more and more? Are we the taxpayers picking up the bill for a failing company and all of its unfunded mandates? Is that weighty?
Well, you know what? Everybody's gonna have to take a haircut, you know, and that's just the bottom line to some extent. But as far as the General Motors example, you know, to me, we missed a historic opportunity to rejuvenate our car industry by not letting them go bankrupt. We could have had all kinds of people with money, with influence, with dreams that wanted to move into that industry and buy up the plants. I mean, can you imagine if you were Paul Allen or somebody like that, and you had an opportunity to buy General Motors free and clear of all those stupid union rules and obligations? You could form a colossus in the auto industry, and that's the opportunity we missed. And so your point about turning into an Amtrak, it already did, and that's the problem. And it's not quite that bad. And again, I don't want to demonize any particular group, Amtrak either, but other than it is not an efficient government program, and that probably is one that should be severely limited, except where it's profitable. I think it can make a go of it in certain areas of the Northeast and high-density areas, but other than that, there is no excuse for throwing money down the Amtrak rat hole for, you know, 1,500-mile routes that are not profitable. I mean, it's nostalgia. It's great, I suppose, if you like trains, but if there's a demand for it, then it will develop. And I can guarantee you that if that were to happen, there would be passenger trains, but they would only be used on profitable times of the year, in special circumstances, what have you. And then again, we could have the General Motors example that I just gave you in the rail industry too. If we got the government out of the railroad industry, maybe they actually would have a rejuvenated passenger rail industry again. I doubt it, but I think that it would work better than it does now.
Okay.
I'm Jim Fargo, and what would you like to see done to improve the climate for the business world of our country?
Lower the chains of slavery that bind them, i.e. lower the taxation rate and get rid of all the nitpicky regulations. Certainly there's going to be some regulation, but we've gone way, way, way overboard. A business owner in Pierce County I talked to recently told me that 7 state inspectors from 7 different departments visit him on a monthly basis and essentially pester him and cost him time, money, aggravation, and ultimately happiness.